Have you ever held a piece of paper in your hand that completely incinerated your life? I have. It wasn't a court summons or a foreclosure notice. It was a receipt tucked into the side pocket of my wife Jessica's purse. The purse she'd left on the kitchen island of our Lincoln Park brownstone. The timestamp was from 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. She was supposedly in a client meeting downtown. The charge was for a one-night stay at the Viceroy Chicago, a hotel not on the way to her office, not near any client she'd ever mentioned, but exactly 3 miles from our front door. My heart didn't just break, it turned to ice. I stood there in the silent kitchen, the low hum of the refrigerator, the only sound, and I knew my marriage wasn't just dying, it was already a ghost. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The humiliation was a slow burn. It started with the little things. The way Jessica would angle her phone away from me, the screen's glow catching the sudden cold hardness in her eyes. The late nights she blamed on her marketing firm landing a huge new account, coming home smelling not of the city, but of a sterile, unfamiliar soap. She'd become a stranger in our bed, a polite and distant roommate who'd stopped asking about my day. I'd try to bridge the gap, suggesting dinner at our favorite spot, Jean and Giorgetti, but she was always too tired, too busy. The excuses were flawless, polished stones in a wall she was building between us. She was so good at it, so convincing, that I started to believe I was the one going crazy. The receipt was the first crack in her fortress. My hands shook as I pulled up our shared phone records online. There it was, a number called and texted dozens of times a day, every day, for the last 3 months. A quick search revealed the owner, Mark, a senior partner at her firm. A man we'd had dinner with, smug, self-satisfied man who'd shaken my hand, looked me in the eye, and complimented my home while he was sleeping with my wife. The coldness in my chest spread, a glacial freeze. She wasn't just cheating, she was arrogant about it. They both were. They felt untouchable. One night I couldn't take the silence anymore. I sat her down in the living room, the city lights of Chicago twinkling through the window like 1,000 indifferent stars. I kept my voice level. "Jess, are you happy with us?" She didn't even look up from her laptop. "I'm just stressed, honey. This new campaign is killing me." The lie was so effortless it was like breathing to her. "I found a receipt," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "From the Viceroy." For the first time, a flicker of panic in her eyes, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a chilling mask of indignation. "Are you going through my purse now? Is that what we've come to?" We turned it on me, her voice dripping with manufactured hurt. I was the villain. I was the one who had broken the trust. That was the night I broke. I went into the guest room and shattered, not with loud, angry sobs, but with a silent, gut-wrenching grief that left me hollowed out on the floor. The man I was, the loyal, trusting husband, died that night. And in his place, something else began to grow, something cold, patient, and strategic. She thought I was a fool. He thought I was a joke. I would let them believe it. My grief hardened into a diamond-sharp resolve. They wanted to destroy my world. Fine. I would build a new one from the ashes of theirs. The next morning, I hired the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a shark named Arthur Vance. I didn't want a simple divorce, wanted a demolition. On his advice, I became a ghost in my own home. I was agreeable, apologetic, even distant. I let Jessica believe her gaslighting had worked, that I was a broken man wallowing in his own paranoia. While she was out on her late nights, I was meticulously gathering evidence. I installed a keylogger on the home computer. I hired a private investigator who documented every single one of their lunch dates that turned into afternoon check-ins at the Viceroy. He got photos, crystal clear photos of them kissing in the parking garage on North State Street, of them walking into the hotel lobby holding hands. Each photo was a nail in a coffin I was building for them. The final pieces of the trap were legal and social. Jessica's father, a man I had always respected, was the majority owner of the marketing firm where she and Mark worked. He ran his company on a strict morality clause, a fact Jessica seemed to have forgotten in her arrogance. The firm's annual gala, a massive black tie event at the Field Museum, was in 2 weeks. It was the perfect stage. The day of the gala, I filed for divorce. The petition was a masterpiece of legal devastation, citing adultery with irrefutable proof and invoking the morality clause in her employment contract. A process server, dressed as a waiter, was on standby at the museum. I arrived alone, playing the part of the supportive husband. Jessica was radiant in a glittering gown, Mark by her side, the two of them basking in the glow of their success. Her father greeted me with a warm hug. "Glad you could make it," he said. "Jessica's been working so hard." I just nodded. "She's been very dedicated." Her father took the stage to give the keynote address. Praising the firm's integrity and the hard work of his team, he called out Mark for his leadership and then his own daughter, Jessica, for her unwavering commitment. As the applause echoed through the grand hall, the waiter approached their table. He leaned in and quietly said, "Mr. Mark Jennings, it's Jessica Miller." He handed them each a thick envelope. I watched from across the room as the color drained from their faces. The smugness evaporated from Mark's expression, replaced by pure, pathetic panic. Jessica looked at me, her eyes wide with the dawning horror of a creature caught in a trap it never saw. Her father, confused by the commotion, walked over to their table. He saw the documents, saw the photographs I had so thoughtfully included. The silence that fell over their corner of the room was more damning than any scream. He didn't yell, just looked at his daughter with a look of such profound disappointment it was physically painful to witness. She was ruined, and not just legally, but socially. In front of her colleagues, her peers, and the father whose approval she craved above all else. She had lost her husband, her job, and her father's respect in a single, perfectly executed moment. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I simply turned and walked out of the museum into the cool Chicago night. I never spoke to her again. The house is quiet now, filled only with the echoes of a life that feels like it belonged to someone else. The end.